Hi there, you haven't fallen asleep on me, have you? We only have a couple more training pieces to go, and we will be done with this whole online recruiter applicant training piece, okay? So our next step is our phase 3A. This is once you've already reviewed the applicant's information with regards to the survey, the insight survey. There's no red flags. Now the daily applicant log, you've received it back from our safety and risk team. They're stating that the applicant is good to go. So now we'll have the applicant log back in. It'll prompt them over to the dashboard screen. The dashboard screen is a summary of where they're at in their application, if they've completed a specific phase or if it's incomplete and they still need a couple more forms to complete, okay? Now remember, anything with the red asterisk is an important field. They must be able to complete it. The click and save button that they'll see throughout the entire phase 3A is pretty much just a button where they would be able to log back out and log back in, and it'll take them right to the same place where they left off at. Now let's get started. The light industrial video test. It's a true or false test, a couple questions long. Pretty much we want to make sure that our employees are safety conscious. We take safety very seriously. We want to make sure that the applicants we're placing out to work understand that safety is very, very important to us. Now, if an applicant fails a test, you are more than welcome to have the applicant retake the test. But now remember, it's like DMV. DMV will only give you 3 options, and it's 3 strikes, you're out. You have to wait a while. Now, in our case, if you want to give the employee more than 2 tries, that's fine. But just remember, if this applicant continues to fail, it's because they don't care. So I would suggest you let the employee know, unfortunately, this is our policy. We need to make sure everybody passes our tests, and you're more than welcome to apply next year. I don't know. Give them some type of excuse, but we want to make sure that they are passing the light industrial test. Click save and continue. The GHS form, they will be watching a video on it, and it's regarding all of the chemical spills, how to handle any type of hazard signs that they should be looking out for while they're at the site. They're going to click save and continue. Policies and procedures checklist. They need to initial on the side here stating that they acknowledge and understand all of our rules, that should there be an accident or an incident, they will be subject over to a drug screen. And if there's an unsafe situation, they will report it over to a full steam representative. That if a specific assignment that they're being placed out to requires some certain PPE equipment, that they'll make sure that they comply. They're not going to try to look cool and not wear the safety glasses or the hard hat if needed. Okay, so they'll go through this entire checklist. They'll click save and continue. Our general policies, there's quite a few different things they need to initial here. One of the very important things, though, is our employees need to understand that we are the employer of record. So they should treat us like if they would be hired on directly to a company. However, it's your responsibility to let them know. We are the employer of record, so if, let's say, you decide that you don't like the assignment, if you're going to be late, if you're going to be absent, whatever the case may be, please report it over to us. We'll communicate with the client, and there on out. If the employee just stops showing up to an assignment, then that's voluntary quit, okay? So there's quite a few different general rules here. They'll read through them, initial, and click save and continue. Our mutual agreement arbitration form. Now, this form, don't be alarmed. A lot of employers are asking employees to sign an arbitration agreement. This means they give up the right to sue in court over job-related issues such as wrongful termination, discrimination, and breach of contract. Doesn't necessarily mean they can't do anything about it. All it means is if they decide to pursue a legal claim against our organization, it will be through an arbitrator rather than going through a messy lawsuit in court, okay? So they'll click save and continue, acknowledge the form, save and continue. The Applicant employee consent and testing authorization form. This form is pretty much stating that they are going to be open to a drug screen. It could be prior to them starting their assignment, or it could be during their assignment. It could be from them moving from one assignment to the other. Point is, we will be drug screening at some point or another, okay? Click Save and Continue. The next couple screens, you'll notice it's a pretty lengthy substance abuse and testing policy. Under no circumstances, we have a zero tolerance for any type of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, anything being brought to the site. A couple of folks think that because they do recreational drugs outside of work, it's okay. At some point, they will be drug screened. So they need to make sure that we are very strict with this specific policy, okay? So they'll click Save and Continue, Save and Continue. Acknowledge that they read it and understand it completely. Save and Continue. Our next form is our harassment policy. Now, this is a very sensitive subject. Harassment, the word harassment, period, is very, very touchy. Now, if an applicant comes to you and says, you know, I feel like I'm being harassed at work, we do not tolerate any harassment being done to any one of our employees. We conduct a full investigation, make sure that once an employee does bring up this sensitive subject to you, you do report it over to your supervisor, get your HR department involved, make sure everyone is in the loop. The last thing we want is for it to blow up into an ugly, ugly situation, okay? So always make sure that you make the applicant feel very comfortable, take them to a secluded room, and in a different training piece, we'll go over this more at length, okay? So now they'll go to the next form. This next form is not a mandatory form. This is completely voluntary. This is more for our internal purposes. If they complete it, great. If they don't, it's okay. Click Save and Continue. Next couple of handouts is our ACA forms and our disability forms. They're going to open them, click Save and Continue. Here is that they've acknowledged that they have gone through the forms. Click Save and Continue. Meal and rest period policy. Under no circumstances are our employees not to take a lunch. If they've already worked more than 5 hours, they have to take a lunch. Okay, if an applicant comes to you and tells you, hey, the last assignment where you were sending me at, the supervisor wasn't allowing us to take our lunches, make sure that you discuss that with your supervisor right away and reach out to the client, because remember, we are the employer of record. And because we are the employer of record, we take liability for everything with this specific individual. And if the applicant is not taking their proper meal and rest periods, then unfortunately it can blow up and escalate all the way to the labor board, and that's what we want to avoid. We want to make sure that we are in compliance, okay? Our last form is our step review. And this is where, like in your first phase, the applicant has the ability to go over each and every handout, make sure that they've signed it properly and they've responded with what they've needed. And then once they've already reviewed everything, everything's good to go, they'll click Submit, and they've completed the phase 3A. Now, all they need to do is go back to you, let you know that they are done, and now it's our job to push their application through to phase 3B, which is our next training piece. See you soon.